There's no question, corner spaces in your kitchen can cause a great deal of pain. Unless you have a solution that you absolutely love and maximizes the corner's function, then this area of your kitchen will be first on the list to change in your next renovation. The problem is there are so many options. How do we know which one is the best? Or at least the best for our kitchen. Choosing the best corner solution for your kitchen is going to take some careful thought and planning. There is no one right answer in most cases. Usually, in any kitchen, you can choose from a variety of different options that all will give you different benefits or outcomes. And it's important to consider all the factors when you're deciding. A lot of the time what happens is a designer will throw in a regular 90-degree corner base cabinet. This covers most of the issues you're going to have. It's an easy solution. We can move on with the rest of the kitchen and forget about the corner. But there's many things to consider when planning out the exact corner solution that you want, such as the available wall space you have to the left and right of that corner. The amount of wall space you have to the right and left of the corner will help you determine the best possible solution for that corner base cabinet. Having only enough space for a 33-inch 90-degree corner base cabinet, as opposed to having enough space for a 48-inch blind corner unit, if you have tons of room, you can maybe choose between a regular corner base cabinet, a 45-degree cabinet, a blind cabinet, blocking it off. There's a lot of different options for you. Another thing to consider is the type of cabinet that is going to be placed to the right and left of the corner base. If I have a corner base cabinet that's, say, 36 inches by 36 inches, which is the standard corner base you're going to find from every single supplier, except IKEA. But the only available room to the right of that corner base is a 9-inch cabinet. And maybe I already have a 9-inch cabinet, I don't need another one, maybe I don't want to have a narrow cabinet at all, then I suggest you look for a different solution. Either incorporate that 9 inches into the total base cabinet and put in a blind corner base, or possibly block that corner off and use that available space for something that is a little more useful than just a narrow 9-inch cabinet, such as a drawer bank. And is there going to be appliances to the right and left of that corner? Is your dishwasher going to be there? Is your range going to be there? Is there a fridge there? Is there a base cabinet microwave? What is going to be placed there is very important and should help you in determining the best possible solution for your corner base cabinet. And what do you plan on storing in your corner base? As with the rest of the kitchen, many people just ignore what they're going to store in their corner base cabinet. When you're doing a kitchen renovation, it is very important that you figure out all of the items that you want to store, even to go as far as measuring them, so you can determine the proper height of shelf spacing, of drawer bases, so that you can properly store your items is very, very important. It gets missed all the time. And your corner base is no exception. You need to really be strategic about what you're going to be storing in there so that you can have the best possible experience with it. And my recommendations to you would be different depending on what you're storing there. If you're storing pots in your corner base, then there's a different solution for you than if you're storing cutlery. Obviously, these two things take different solutions and different types of base corners, so it's important to know what exactly you're going to put in that space. And how much access do you want to the corner? Well, I want maximum access to the corner, Mark. I mean, obviously, I want maximum access to every space in my kitchen. Well, in your corner, there's a tricky balance that we have to figure out. The more storage capacity and less wasted space that you desire for your corner means the less accessibility that you're going to have for that space. And the more accessibility you want, the less storage capacity you're going to have and the more wasted space that you're going to create. Now, if you don't mind getting on your hands and knees and digging into that corner base, no matter what the solution is, then by all means, that's the right solution for you, because that will ensure that you capture all of the storage capacity. But if you desire to have something that comes out and pulls out to you and that you have better access and easier access to, then that means you'll have to add something to the corner base, and that's going to take up space and waste space, meaning you can't store as much in there. So there's just a balance. There's no particular right and wrong. It's very subjective. So you have to plan it out to what is best for you. How much budget do you want to commit to your corner solution? Adding an accessory is going to cost a lot of money. Blocking a corner and adding drawer banks is obviously going to cost more money. So if you want a very cost-effective solution to your corner, well, probably the best option is just a regular 90-degree corner-based cabinet with nothing inside but a shelf. That's going to be the most budget-friendly. But if you want something that's very accessible and easier to use, then maybe a blind corner with a magic corner system that costs quite a bit of money is going to be the better option for you. It's also going to be higher on the budget. So if you want a much easier and less expensive option, then the less accessibility generally you're going to have, but the more storage capacity you're going to have. And if you want something that's very easy to use and very accessible, then it's going to cost more money, but also waste more space. It's an interesting ratio that you have to balance depending on your needs. Plus, you also have to think about what's even available to you. We can talk about all kinds of different options for your kitchen corner, but it's going to be dependent on where you're purchasing the cabinets, what they're able to supply, what's actually available. If you're purchasing cabinets from an RTA dealer, ready to assemble cabinets, then they're not going to have as many options as a custom cabinet builder who can just build whatever you want. This becomes an important factor in choosing your corner cabinets because you might just be stuck with whatever it is they can do. Now, there's always more than one solution wherever you go. Most cabinet companies will have a bunch of different solutions, but the amount of those solutions will increase the more customized you get. Now, there's many different corner solutions we can talk about. The two most common that probably take up 90% of the kitchens in the world, at least in North America, are a 90-degree corner cabinet with a Lazy Susan and some sort of blind corner cabinet. I would think that these take up about 90% of all corners in all kitchens, at least in North America. When I was selling kitchens for a living, these two options were by far the most popular. But there's lots of other options to consider. The 45-degree angled cabinet in a corner or a 45-degree angled base cabinet is a very popular solution. Generally not my favorite because it does create a much more massive space that you have to figure out access to. And it's not easy to add an accessory to something this large, unless you're actually taking a regular base cabinet and putting it on a 45-degree angle and then using fillers to create the rest of the corner. This is something that's done quite often and can be used to easily add a drawer bank or some other cabinet to the corner. However, it does create a lot of wasted space as well, as with every cabinet in the corner, and can cause some problems with countertops depending on the surface that you're going for. At the very least, you're probably going to pay more money because you need more material. Many people do like the 45-degree corner if they're going to use a corner sink, because you can actually just install a regular sink base on a 45-degree angle and put in a regular kitchen sink so that you don't have to have one of those awkward 90-degree corner sinks. But this takes up quite a bit of space and you'll need to have room to install something like this. And speaking of corner sinks, the corner sink is another option for a corner. There's lots of variety in the type of sink you can choose. While I think the best type of sink is something that's just a large single or possibly a double, you can get 90-degree corner sinks and odd-shaped sinks that fit corner bases. I think these are great in specific case uses where you can't put a sink anywhere else and you want to utilize a 90-degree corner. Then there's options for you if you want to do that. In the corner, because it's so inaccessible anyways, having that filled up with plumbing might be a better solution, though you just have to remember that usually the access to that corner is narrower, and so if you have to get in there for plumbing purposes, that might be a bit of a problem. So be careful with that you make sure you have enough width to get in there to fix a plumbing issue if it arises. Corner drawers are quite popular in many kitchens. If you want to utilize that space and have really good access, you can put in the corner drawer. And yes, they do waste a little space, but they make for a very accessible corner should you choose to go this route. Plus, if you need a space for kitchen utensils, cutlery, spices, this is a great solution for those types of things. Remember, one of the things to consider is what you're storing in the corner base, and sometimes a drawer bank might be the best solution. You'll see a lot of people putting their range, their dishwasher, or even their fridge in the corner as a solution to that space. I mean, why not? It totally takes care of all of that corner space. You never have to worry about trying to access it because it is filled with some kind of appliance. This can be good, but I do recommend that you have enough space for this because anytime you angle something, you take up more width on either wall, and that can hinder you from doing other things in your kitchen that you may want to do. And there's different ways to install these, whether they're flush with the front of the cabinets or they're inset back. You have a variety of options there so that you can determine how you want it to look, how you want it to function. And anytime you're dealing with an appliance, you just want to make sure that you're following the rules for appliances, making sure you have landing area, making sure you have proper clearances to access the door openings and other cabinets can open around it. So if your cabinet door is being blocked by an appliance door, that might not be something that you want to do in your new kitchen. So having it in the corner might not be the best solution. I've heard from other people in the past that having the range in the corner is a nice solution because the countertop on either side is closer to you, easier for access and workflow, and can be a little more efficient. Now, my personal favorite, of course, is a blocked off corner. I don't know why I love this so much, but I just do, and I try not to harp on it too much, and I try to be very careful with clients when I tell them that they should block off a corner and when they shouldn't. It's always my go-to solution. I don't think that wasting that space is that big a deal in the long run because you make the other parts of that corner area to the right and to the left much more accessible and usable. However, it's not always the best option, and so you do have to work that out with your designer on whether or not it would work in your kitchen, because it is the most inaccessible place in your kitchen, and to make it accessible, you do need to spend more money. So it is something to definitely consider as an option when you're looking at corner solutions. Now, something to add to a blocked off corner, which makes it accessible and usable, is a very expensive corner lift system. Now, these are on the market for a long time, but they are very expensive, thousands of dollars. However, they're out there if you want to put it in your budget to purchase one of these. They can be an interesting solution to a corner that you don't necessarily have other access to. To me, this is as close to the ultimate corner as you can think of, even though it still has some problems and is very, very expensive. It's a pretty cool solution, in my opinion. The corner pantry is also very popular in many kitchens if you have the space for it, but having a walk-in pantry in a corner can be a great way to divide your kitchen up in a way that makes sense because you have all this storage in the center of all the work zones. So that can be something to look to in your kitchen, especially if you're doing a new build. In a renovation, you'll want to make sure, as with appliances, that you have enough width on either wall to install a regular cabinet pantry on an angle, because it does take up quite a bit of width. Hey, if you're renovating a kitchen and would like to have a second set of eyes on your design, there's a link in the description below for a one-on-one consultation with me. For 60 minutes, we get into the weeds about your particular kitchen, answer your questions so that you can be confident that you're getting the most functional kitchen for your needs. Click the link below, and I hope to chat with you soon. Who thought there'd be so much to talk about when it comes to corners, but there really is a lot to consider. I hope this video was a little bit helpful when you're trying to figure out your best solution for your kitchen. I'd love to hear what you decide in the comments. And if you want to see my reaction to some corner cabinet videos, check this one out here, and we'll see you on the next one.